Danny, let's say Danny had another 100 pounds on him, I would probably not try to do the two-person lift personally. Being the upper body, I might do the legs. I just physically don't think that I could do that. Okay, so that would be a case where I would grab a lift aid. But for the most part, it's actually not that difficult to do a complete two-person lift. Now, what I would use a portion of the two-person lift for is to use it for something else, and we'll talk about that after we demonstrate it. See if you can come up with some other ideas of when you might want to use this technique. So I need a volunteer. Anyone would like to volunteer as a patient? Maybe volunteer? Have a seat in the wheelchair. Okay. So with the two-person lift, first thing you're going to do is you're going to think about, plan where you're going to go. So we want to transfer Tiffany from the. Set these over here so I don't. We're going to transfer her from the wheelchair to the mat table, let's say. So I'm going to bring her over. And position it close to where we want to go. And then we're going to, and then to make our life easier, so if at all possible, we're going to remove the armrest.
It's a new chair, so it's a little sticky.
It's not if you do the right buttons. If you get the right buttons, it's not sticky at all. Okay, so we're going to move the parts out of the way where we won't, or I won't trip on them because, remember, I'm tripping on everything. Okay, so we're going to take her, we actually don't necessarily have to take her feet off the foot pedals, but I like to so that I don't trip over them when I'm moving them. Okay, do you want to get the legs?
Sure.
Okay, so who, in the two-person command, who's going to do the command directing?
You are the head.
The person at the head, right, the closest to the head. So I'll be the
Boss.
giving the boss. Okay, when we lift, just ahead of time to let you know, what we're going to do is when I say 1, 2, 3, lift, we're going to lift and move over.
Okay.
Now, what I would do is I would have also introduced myself to the patient, explain to them what we're going to do. So Tiffany, what we're going to do is we're going to actually assist you by lifting you up and over onto the table. Okay? What I'm going to do, may I come around behind you and place my hands? I'm going to come around and I'm going to have her cross her arms like that. And I'm going to grab, this is what I want you to see, I'm going to grab, not on her hands, I'm going to grab on her distal forearm. Okay? Right like that. Oh, hold on, I'm going to come under. Sorry. I'm going to come under her and do that. Sorry, I didn't realize you got to do it. And notice how we bend with our legs, and on the count of 3, on 3, and then on lift. 1, 2, 3. Lift. Up and over. And then you keep in contact with the patient. You don't just and let him go.
Bye.
So you keep in contact with the patient. You've already been close. And notice I ask permission. May I put my arms around you? I'm going to come around behind you. So you let them know what you're going to do, because that's kind of a obtrusive, somewhat overpowering kind of position to be in on somebody. So you want to let them know ahead of time, and you want to tell them. And if you notice, at first I went like this, and I realized, oh, I'm in a bad place. So when I realized the right technique, you come up and under her arms, and then you grab on the distal forearms like that. Make sense? And lift it.
And one other tip, it helps to keep them more compact if you kind of hug their arms into you, hug their body into you. If you're out here, they're going to be kind of like a wet noodle. So I like to sort of pull them into me like this, and then you sort of go as one unit. And it keeps your center mass, again, close to their center mass. There's the next question.
So do you grab over or do you grab under? On their hand? Over? Okay.
Any other questions?
If you can't wrap your arms around them, would that be a situation you'd grab a lift device?
That's a good indicator, yeah. I would think, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
not going to do it.
not going to do it.
So, Dr. I didn't see where your hands were. Were they just
I was just underneath her legs in this way.
Gotcha.
I think in the book, they might show with the patient's legs extended out in front of them, but sometimes you can feel less control that way. So if they're semi-flexed, again, it keeps me a little bit closer to the patient. So I'm cradling her underneath like this, maybe one under the upper thigh and one under the tibia
Not
area.
everyone has a hamstring range to sit like this too. So if you have, in the book it shows with
Right.
the legs straight. Believe me, a lot of your patients will not have the ability to long sit like that. So you'll have to have the legs bent a little bit.
Can you use the gate belt? Grab onto that? You could reach around like Chelsea's saying.
You know, that I wouldn't do that personally. That's a lot of weight to take on the gait belt, and I wouldn't feel like that I would have safe, it'd be safe and good control. I don't know.
Just 'cause
what
it
your
could
thought-
slip and
Yeah,
such.
I
I've
don't know
never
what your thought is on
done
that.
it
I would, that would probably be a good indicator that it was too much of a lift for me personally to do. Does that make sense?
Should we show how to just reposition in the chair
Yeah.
doing it? You want to scoot it?
So another place where this technique, and this, even if somebody was larger, this, I might use this portion of this for this, because I'm not lifting them up and over, but we might, can you slouch down a little bit? Slouch, there you go. I won't often tell you to do that. So if a patient is forward, you know, you get them in the chair, you count to them, and they're not quite seated all the way back, or they slid forward for whatever reason. This is a great technique to help scoot somebody back in the chair. So what I would do is I'm going to come in behind you and lean you forward. Get in here. So 1, 2, 3, and lift. So I lift up here as the person there kind of helps scoot them under. Does that make sense? And you'll see a lot of people can, you know, you can really actually using your body get them pretty unweighted
And
pretty
then-
easily.
And
Which
then
is
all
light,
this
but-
person has to do is push the knees back towards the back of the chair.
So it's a really helpful technique for that. And again, like I said, you know, I just recently had a patient that we had to very rapidly get down on the floor. I had it happen to me once, and I've actually done this the same lift when I was by myself teaching a balance class. I go to the towers in the Within the Woods Village. If I sound about, there's a large retirement community which is called Leisure World. It's in the Woods Village, and I teach a balance class to people that are, the average age is like 96 in that class. It's a really old class. And that's one lady who actually passed out in the class, and I had to physically take her, and there was no other staff there. It was all these frail elderly and myself in the room. And so I had to physically do that, and I was able to lift her, balancing on her feet onto the floor. She wasn't a large person. She wasn't in a wheelchair. She was just in this regular chair without arms. But I was able to lift her down without injuring myself or her and maintain her down and lay her down. As soon as I laid her down, she came to. But you know, it's a good technique to have, to be able to grab the arms like that and to know how to hold them snugly so that you have that weight near you so you can do some pretty safe lifting when you have to. Okay? So why don't you take about 10 minutes